Welcome to the Curve, where ideas take flight. Blending tech and
All right, well, welcome to the Learning Curve. My name is Carl Moen. I'm a digital learning specialist here at Region 7, and we are coming towards the end of the first season, and we have a really, really special episode today. I'm so excited to get to introduce to you the newest member of our team. Cyndi Nyvall, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you come from and why you're here, how you got here, whatever you want to say.
My name is Cyndi Nyvall, and I am so excited to be the newest member of the Region 7 digital learning team. Came here, I'm actually an East Texas girl. I grew up here and in Carthage, K-12. My parents are still in Carthage. Love that wonderful town, best town in East Texas. I don't know if you knew that. But I've been here at Region 7 now for almost 5 years. And I've been serving in the curriculum department. And so when the opportunity came up to come and serve through digital learning with some of my original passions, I jumped on that opportunity. And so I'm excited to be here as part of that.
Well, I'm really excited that you're here. Yeah, and we're really excited that Cyndi has joined our team as their coordinator of digital learning. And so she's just been here a couple of weeks, really kind of figuring out who we are and whether she really likes being on our team or not, which that remains to be seen. But one of the things that I said when she came in, I was like, you know that you have to actually be on the podcast now and help me with the podcast. And she was really excited about that.
I think I said, I do believe I have the gift of gab. I can talk about just about anything. Yeah.
So I'm really glad. I'm glad that you're on the team. I'm glad that you're here with us today. And what this really is today is an interview. It's an informal conversation, but really to be able to explore some of the ideas. And one of the things I'm most excited about with Cyndi is the collaboration, the connection that comes between curriculum and digital tools. And so leveraging her expertise coming out of the curriculum department and then kind of looking at how that blends and how that meshes well with the digital tools that we're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I said I'm coming back to some of my passions, and I started off in my career working with gifted kids and teachers to differentiate their lessons for those gifted kids and to incorporate technology. I was in the North Fort Worth area at that point teaching in my career, and so that was when iPads were big, and we were trying to incorporate all of that and integrate it in, and so we differentiated for that specifically. And so when we came back to East Texas, that's when I began my work with Reading Language Arts, which many of our regions know me for work within reading and language arts, and I have enjoyed that over the past 10 years and 5 years here again at Region 7. But I'm excited to get back into some of that digital learning piece and that the innovative piece and working with creating engaging classrooms with our teachers. I really have been trying to do that with them with reading, and I feel like we've done a really good job. I'm so proud of my reading teachers across the region. If y'all hear me out there, shout out, good job, doing a good job. And so just can't wait to do that on a larger scale now and be with this incredible team that are the best experts in the state over digital learning.
Thank you for that. That's really kind of you to say. A couple of things that we've been talking about really recently. So I know that yesterday, it won't be yesterday when you see this, but yesterday when the AI workshop that we were talking about and just considering the new technology that's come with artificial intelligence and those large language models and how that can influence teacher effectiveness and efficiency in the classroom, as well as helping our students become really better thinkers and more critical thinkers. And I'm excited about that. And then especially the blended learning, which is the thing that's probably the closest to my heart. What I love about learning in general is how can we bring student agency into the classroom, and how can we help our students really take ownership over that learning. So either of those things or both of those things, just kind of talk about how that's been, or maybe how you view both of those going forward and in digital learning. And that might not have been a great question.
Absolutely.
But,
well, no, it is a great question, because that was one of the things that they asked me in the interview was, why would you want to do this? And I said, it is such an exciting time to come back to this, particularly with the work with AI. That is fascinating to me. I think it's a really good opportunity for us to come and think about what our thoughts are around AI and really approach that courageously. Because
that's a great word.
It was very intimidating at first to think about AI and what's it going to replace and what thinking is it going to take away. But I think that we have the opportunity to lead out how to do that proactively and intentionally, strategically even, to train our teachers how to use it to take some of the heavy lift off of them.
Yes.
And it's just going to be our kids' world. I think about my own kids. I have 2 beautiful boys, and they're growing up in a world that it's just going to be in everything that they do. It's going to be in everything that they work with. So why would I not be a part of helping train the most important people in their lives, their teachers, how to use that and how to use that with them?
Yeah.
So I think about with AI, how could our teachers leverage what's available to maybe do some of the grunt work for them? You and I were looking at Notebook LM today. How could that help teachers? Or yesterday, Michael was with Carl and I in that AI session, and he was talking about, if we're going to be studying X, how can we use AI to help us generate some excellent research-based activities? Because it pulled the 5D model, right? Yesterday.
Yes, without even us asking. Yeah.
And then it differentiated it. And I remember working with teachers earlier in my career, and we would take 2 hours to sit and flesh that out, or I would come to a meeting with it fleshed out, and then we'd have to decide what we were going to do and then go from there. And it's seconds.
Yes.
So I just think that's a great opportunity to be courageous about how to use that and intentional on how to use that.
I like the word courageous, especially when it's talking about AI, but really when you think about as teachers, or as the world changes around us, and as education has continued to evolve and will continue to evolve, it's not done changing, how teachers need to be a little bit courageous to step out into some of these new and it's not new pedagogy. Good teaching is always good teaching, but how do I incorporate these new ideas, these new tools, maybe some new strategies into that quality teaching? And I think courageous is a really, really good word to think about.
Because we have to step away from what we're used to.
Right.
I mean, we've had these certain patterns of habit that we've put into place, and to do something new takes some courage. But I think about common requests I get, like, how do I come up with connected text? And many of my examples will be RLA, because that's been the world that I've been functioning in. How do I come up with common text? Or what if I'm trying to teach this vocabulary word, but I can't find a text that has the vocabulary word? Or what if in the same class I have, we're going to read on grade level, but I do need to differentiate and scaffold at some point. How do I do that? And that was so much work.
Yeah.
But now with programs like, I think of Diffit, I think of there's Magic School AI. They can do that for you so that now you can focus on the feeling of your classroom, the community in your classroom, the relationships in your classroom. You can do more of those small group things and not be so loaded down by, I need these hours of planning to do that.
And one of the things, when you said relationships, one of the pillars of the Blended Learning Institute that we're working with is relationships. And that might sound kind of weird to think about. Not weird, but maybe where we're so focused sometimes on data, and data's great and it's necessary and we have to have it, but we get so focused on that we forget that there are people in the room, and that by developing those high quality relationships, that's when we get the most leverage. And that's not a great word because I don't like to think about it as that, but that's when we develop the most influence with our students, and can tap into some of that motivation that we need them to have. And so I think that's a great thing. And some of these new tools take that lift off of the teacher, allowing us the time to do what we want to do anyway.
I think about, when I worked as a GT specialist and we were differentiating content, and one of my favorite opportunities that I have several, but we built Rube Goldberg machines. When we're learning about all the simple machines and so forth. And I think about this little boy named Carlos, and you and I had a good conversation today about student agency and about them knowing that they can take control of their learning, and then being able to show the product of that agency. And I think about Carlos, and he was not always the most willing, even though we did have a great relationship. And so connecting AI to agency and to just helping with this in that Rube Goldberg project, he would not leave the classroom. because he wanted to work so much on that. But I do remember how long it took Rita, the teacher that I worked with, Rita and I, to build that project. When now we could have probably had the project built, groups built, differentiations and scaffolds in
an afternoon.
Yes.
At the most.
At the most.
Yeah.
And then we could have been able to try to outthink Carlos and how to give him that time and that space to really show who he was and what he was interested in. And so I'm very excited about the opportunity to work with relationship and agency and still data-driven instruction.
Because that's important. That's necessary. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
That's good. So shift the gears a little bit here. So new position, new maybe opportunity to look forward and see, and you say even returning to some of your roots. What is, if you could just dream a little bit, and so no restrictions, right? All with just drawers full of money, whatever we need. How would you build a classroom? How would you build a makerspace or whatever in order to really reach students and give them those chances to do whatever they want.
Right. So think about some of the work that we've seen with having students have choice and voice in what they do. And so that was one of the things I always grabbed onto whenever I was working with teachers to build things. And even now in reading language arts, when I worked with teachers, how do they have choice and voice? If you've been to my workshops, you've heard me say that. And so allowing them, we have the content / process or application that we have to teach, and we as the teachers are the experts on that. And so I think about in a classroom leveraging choice boards to allow them to apply those skills, but it is around that content, or being able to use some of the amazing research tools that are out there now. I remember research used to be so intimidating because you knew it was a 2-week chunk of time, and you had to schedule the library, and you had to help the kids be organized, and helping junior high kids be organized is not always the easiest task to complete. I never did it with elementary, so I can only imagine. But I have 2 elementary sons. I can tell you, it's probably
I
a
was all high
nightmare.
school, so I have no idea.
Oh boy! But I think about the tools that are there now for AI and how that would allow research to take place, so that it can be used in application, not as a process or product in itself, but to then be an application of their learning of that content. And so a dream classroom would be, I think, we're going to be learning about this. Let's gather information about what you already know so that we can see that. Okay, so if we really wanted to dig in, what would we do? And being able to gather that information from the kids and then incorporate that into those choice boards. But I also think in those classrooms, I love kids working together.
Yes.
My classroom was never the quiet classroom. But it was not a buzz of just talking for talking's sake. It was a buzz of productivity. I'll never forget my first job in Hudson ISD. Shout out Hudson. I taught 5th grade science, and then they had me write the 5th grade science lab curriculum. And that 5th grade science lab was my absolute favorite, because often we wrote it in stations, and the kids were busy and up and moving around and talking, and it was loud, but they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. So I think about that, and I think about them being able to give feedback to one another, and for me to have the freedom to not be the sage on the stage, but to be going out and working and providing feedback, support, scaffolding as needed throughout the classroom. So that's kind of my dream space. Is that student-driven learning.
And that you're speaking my language there, because that's the stuff that I love to get to do when I was in the classroom still. And it was creating those, we were all project-based, but it was creating those learning opportunities where the students, they designed their own evidence of learning. And so they had the choice. They had and I love the choice and voice. When we stopped telling them what to make and started asking them, show us how you know this, that was
so exciting.
Oh my goodness, it was such a dramatic transition that we weren't prepared for. Because and it's not that we didn't think our students could do the work. We knew they could do the work. We just didn't know how good it was going to be.
They surprise you, don't
Oh
they?
my goodness, they did.
And the energy level goes up so high
Yes.
whenever they have that.
Yes,
It's
and so
exciting.
that's just thrilling. I mean, I wish everybody would do it like that. But of course,
Yeah.
if everybody would just listen to us, then
I mean,
really. So, all right. So again, one more time, looking into the future, just thinking, what's the thing that you want to bring to digital learning that maybe you're coming out of curriculum and going, this was really cool. Let's see if we can do this, or anything else. What's the thing that you want to bring to digital learning?
So we've talked about this before too, Carl, you and I. I think that the point is we want to be effective and efficient in what we do in the classroom. We want to be effective and efficient in what we do in planning. And now there are all these tools that are available to us. You and I have talked about how the tool has to be invisible.
Right.
And the learning is what's in the front.
Yes.
And so looking to the future of my work with digital learning, I would love to take the knowledge that I have about how curriculum works. If you know me, you know I love backward design and the quality control triangle, taking the knowledge of that and how all of that works together, and what I know about what's going on with TEA or what's going on with assessment, and being able to really align those systems so that when we are looking at these tools, we can have truly immediately applicable uses of those tools, so that the learning is in the front, but the tool is in the back. So for example, right before we started recording, I was working on building a blended learning example classroom in the TC and PC platform. So I'm working on that, and I am breaking down the unit first, and I'm looking at what are those learning goals, and then I'm thinking about what tools are available. In this one of the contents that we have to learn is mental images. How do we use mental images for comprehension? And so I thought, okay, what could we use to do that? And so I actually took a poem by stanza and I fed it into Leonardo AI. And it created an image of what was happening in each stanza. And so now, we can't see what's going on in kids' heads for comprehension. Right? They're there. That comprehension is a metacognitive process unique to the reader, leveraged for understanding. And it's unique. That's the key term there. Unique. And so when we're trying to teach kids how to see that mental movie playing in their head, being able to show some models of how the words connect to that mental image. So built a whole lesson where we show one and we see how the words connect, and then we give them a stanza and they predict what it could look like, and maybe let them feed it into AI and come up with that response. And then finally giving them a picture that really shows the theme of the poem and having them be able to extract that. That's putting the tool in the background and the learning in the front. So something like that.
I love that. I love that. So really, again, this episode was, I wanted you to get to meet Cyndi. I'm so excited that she's on our team. She's very energetic and enthusiastic, and I love that. She brings the energy level up, especially when I'm in the room, quite a bit, because I'm not always quite that energetic. But I'm thrilled. I really am. I'm so thrilled that you're a part of our team, and I'm excited about the opportunity to get to work with you and just to draw from your experience in all of these other all these other places that you've been, to help us as a team become more effective at really increasing student outcomes, because that's the goal. That's the whole idea behind everything. That's the whole idea behind every episode that we're doing on this, is how can we increase student outcomes? Because the students are the ones who are important. They're the ones who the learning is for. And so I love that that's kind of how you were thinking there too, with the learning is got to be the thing that's in the foreground.
Well, the feeling goes both ways. I'm very excited to be here. I can't wait to be a part of this team and work with everybody. We'll still do the work, but the work's going to shift a little bit, and I'm excited about that. I'm very excited to be a part of that.
So any closing thoughts, just last kind of words before we shut down for this episode? Anything that you want to say?
No.
Okay.
No, I look forward to new learning, new chances and opportunities. I will say the digital learning crew has some really neat things on the horizon. And it is very exciting to get to be a part of those and to see how that connects with previous work, and then to work with just such an incredible, genuine group of people who really do have their priorities focused on that kids are that where we're headed. Kids are what we're here for, and without that, that's that's our goal and our mission.
That's it.
So yeah, absolutely.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, this is coming up to the close of the season for this year on the Learning Curve. We've got a couple more episodes coming up, and then we look forward to. We have some really, like Cyndi just said, some really cool things that are coming in the next year that I'm excited to get to tell you about once next school year starts. So until then, we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we will see you next time.
Welcome to the curve, where ideas take flight. Blending tech and teaching, sparking insight. From digital tips